You wrote a book called The Isaiah Effect, speaking about the collective consciousness when focused properly through the emotions, the amount that can be accomplished with really a relatively small number of people. Can you just encapsulate that very briefly for people?
The investigations, well, first of all, these are not new ideas. The idea that we are connected through a field of energy has been around forever, thousands of years. What's new is the scientific validation of the field. And scientists now coming to terms, okay, the field's there, what do we do with it? How connected are we really to this field? It led to a series of experiments back in the 1970s, and the TM people, Transcendental Meditation University, backed and funded and pulled in some very good scientists to do some of these fields. What they found was they had 24 cities in the United States with populations over 10,000 people. And they did experiments, scientifically governed experiments, and they would take a certain number of people and ask them to feel the feeling of peace, for example. Not to think the thought, but rather to feel the feeling in their bodies for certain periods of time. And what they found was during those periods of time, statistically, the communities around them changed. Crimes against people declined, violent crimes. Emergency hospital room visits declined, traffic accidents declined. In cities where the stock market soared when this was happening. And when the people stopped feeling the peace, all those statistics reversed. And this led to a greater experiment. It was called the International Peace Project in the Middle East. It was during the Lebanese War with Israel in the early 1980s. They had people that were strategically placed in the war zones. And during the window of time, it's called the prayer window, when the people were feeling the peace in their bodies, terrorist activities dropped to zero. They completely stopped. And all the other things happened. The crimes against people, violent crimes, emergency hospital room visits, all declined. And they tried these just to make sure it wasn't maybe the time of the month or full moon cycles or holidays. They tried them all different times, double-blind studies, statistically valid studies. And what they found was it takes a relatively few number of people to jumpstart this experience in consciousness, and the number is the square root of 1%, which is a very small number. So if you take a population, whether it's 10 people or 1 million, and you take 1% of that in your calculator, and then you take the square root of that, it'll tell you how many people that you need. So in a city of 1 million people, for example, it only takes about 100. Or in a world of 6 billion people, it only takes about 8,000 to jumpstart this effect. Obviously, the more people that participate, the more accelerated the effect.